This is nScreenNoise. My name is Colin Dixon, founder and chief analyst at nScreen Media, and today is August 6th, 2020. Roku has just given us its Q2 2020 results, and they are pretty good once again. The company continues to turn in great results. They added 3.2 million active users, new active users in the quarter to reach 43 million. And shelter-in-place viewing in Q2, and of course a whole bunch of us were shut up in our homes in that quarter, that seems to have really driven a big increase in viewing. The company said that it grew engagement from 3 hours and 29 minutes per day per active user in Q1 to 3 hours and 50 minutes per day. That's a 10% increase in Q2. And another measure of engagement, I guess, is ARPU, average revenue per unit, and that's mostly driven by advertising and a lot from the Roku Channel, which we'll get to in just a minute. And they did really well here too. Even though ad rates fell in Q2, the company still managed to turn in an increase in ARPU. Now, Disney reported results yesterday, had a terrible time with ad rates, and the performance of their broadcast channels was awful. But as I say, Roku got a small 53-cent increase in ARPU to $24.92 per active user per quarter. So that's pretty good going. Now, I wanted to dig in a little bit to the Roku Channel because the Roku Channel has actually had some improvements in the last quarter or so. First of all, it has added 100 linear channels. 70 of those linear channels are what we call virtual linear or playlisted linear. So they're not really live, but they're a bunch of VOD assets strung together in a playlist. And they added also 30 live channels, probably coming from things like news and maybe a little bit of sport, although there hasn't been much of that in the last quarter. And they also added an EPG, and they're rolling that out to all of their users in their Roku boxes to help browse those channels. Until now, the only way for us to really gauge the performance of the Roku Channel has been through ARPU growth. And as I've said, ARPU has risen strongly in the past and even in this quarter. But it's not a really great measure of how the Roku Channel is doing, because ARPU comes from other places as well, and it really doesn't give us a good idea of how many people are coming in. Well, what we really need is viewership, and this quarter we finally got some. Here's what the company had to say in the earnings release. It said the Roku Channel more than doubled its reach in the US. As of Q2, the Roku Channel was watched by households with an estimated 43 million people. So this is great, right? We finally can compare performance of the Roku Channel against Pluto TV, Tubi, Samsung channels, all of those, right? All of those other people that are providing AVOD. Well, not really. Here's the problem. The number that we're given, even by Pluto and Zumo and all of the rest, for the number of users is not the same. At least we don't know it to be the same in all cases. Now, Pluto TV says it has 24 million monthly active users. Tubi says it has 25, but you'd be wrong to conclude that Tubi has more users than Pluto because, for example, we don't know exactly how many, if there's a co-viewing multiple applied to Tubi. Now, we do know that Pluto TV doesn't include a co-viewing multiple. And by the way, co-viewing multiple just recognizes the fact that people watch together in front of the television. Pluto doesn't apply a co-viewing multiple, but I don't know that Tubi does or doesn't. I've asked, they just haven't told me if they do. So I can't even compare them. Now, to come back to the Roku Channel, that 43 million people that they say are using it. Well, that's not monthly active users. That was people they saw using it in the quarter. That tells us very little about monthly active users. There are a bunch of people who used it in all 3 quarters, but there were probably also a bunch more who only used it a couple of times in 1 quarter. So we really don't know what 43 million translates to in terms of monthly MAUs. And that estimate, when they say it's an estimate, that sounds a bit odd to me, because they absolutely know how many people are using those Roku channels. They absolutely know that. So what does that mean? Well, I suspect that they must be adding a co-viewing multiple, and the estimate is that they're not quite sure how many people are watching together, but they're taking a guess and they're adding a co-view multiplier there. So what can we conclude for the 43 million? Well, you can't say that they're attracting more viewers than Pluto TV and Tubi. All you can say is that they're attracting tens of millions of viewers in any quarter. And there's one other thing I wanted to know about the results, and that's what's going on with the Peacock and HBO Max impasse. Remember, Peacock and HBO Max are not on Roku. They're also not on Fire TV. And Anthony Wood was asked directly about this in the earnings call, and he launched into a defense of the way that Roku actually earns revenue with partners. He said the economic model with our content distribution partners as well as advertisers is what funds our business. It allows us to invest in innovation and bring low-cost devices to consumers. And Scott Rosenberg, who's SVP and GM of the platform business at Roku, he launched into a defense of why services like Peacock and HBO Max need to be there. He said partners that embrace Roku are winning. We've had an exceptional quarter of growth in terms of engagement in every segment. Subscription, transactional, AVOD has grown substantially, and our partners have been invested and are working with us, are benefiting from that growth. So to me, that sounds like Roku is still posturing in negotiations, making it very clear to Peacock and to HBO Max that they bring a lot of value. So that, to me, doesn't sound like we're close to a resolution of that impasse. And we're still not going to have Peacock and HBO Max on Roku for some time. Now, before I go, I want to tell you about a great free live webcast we're running on Monday, August 10th at noon Pacific. It's called The Psychology of the Subscriber. And if you are asking for a credit card for free trial, if you're asking people to input that before they get their free trial, well, let me tell you, you are engendering emotions of suspicion. People are feeling unsafe. They're feeling invaded. They're feeling even angry because of it. Now, we'll be talking about why they feel that way on Monday and telling you what to do about it. So join us there on Monday, August 10th at noon Pacific. We'll put a link in just below so you can click and sign up. And we'll see you again next time.